Hey guys, welcome to Small Towns Unscripted.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen and Megan Johnson. This is Nicole Turner. I'm Russ McClellan. Appreciate you guys coming. It's always good to meet. I love these podcasts because I meet so many different people. I've met so many different people. Being in real estate and growing up here, but I really love it when I can talk to people that have been here for 5 or 6, 10 years, 7 years, 2 years, one day. And have you guys seen any of them at all?
Yeah.
Have you seen any episodes?
Yeah. Well, I think Kyle was on your show recently, and so he told the whole staff about it, and so that's when I first heard about it.
Another great guy that had a story.
Yeah, he's got a story for everything.
Yeah. You're leading a church, but you think your dad moved us out of town because you were such a little hellion.
Yeah, it's a funny story.
Known, right?
Rough time at Mo Elementary, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, poor teachers of that time.
And that's the idea, right? The whole I like to share why we started this and why we're doing it, and that's just to help unite a community. We all have a feeling at Small Towns Unscripted that once you realize that everybody's not that much different from each other, and you have some commonality, and everybody has a story, everybody's been through stuff. It makes it a little easier, hopefully, to be less judgmental and a little more, full of some empathy and sympathy and, just understanding that we all go through stuff and we're not all the same people we once were. So I love it in this town. Growing up here like I did, and my parents before that and grandparents, people talk about me like, I go, when did you know me? Because there's a lot of phases.
What stage of
life? What Russ do you know?
That Kawasaki Ninja wasn't going that fast. I was 17, and what are you going to do?
That's funny.
But yeah, so it's kind of cool that way. And then the stories, right, for your own family. And we love it when grandkids say, hey, Grandpa's on a podcast. I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I wish I had for my parents, and I think that it's going to be something for their own, it seems like their own families, and the authentic stories, not the fishing stories that just change over time. It's like what really happened. And we're going through a lot of change. So that definition of local, I believe that it sometimes gets to be an us against them, as change is messy, change is difficult, and not everybody likes it. And I agree. There were some years in my life. I graduated high school in Manson at a time where 1987 was a heck of a good year. If I could just stay right there forever, it would have been beautiful. But life doesn't work that way. So this idea that I believe a local means that you're a good person, you live here, and you want to contribute.
And you guys definitely have jumped in and contributed a lot. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I love your bio, guys. Thanks for sending that over. I always kind of like to start from the beginning. Like, where were your families from? Like, where did it all start?
Why don't you start, Midwest man?
Yeah. I'm from the St. Louis, Missouri area. So most of my family went to the University of Missouri. Like my kind of an athletic background. My grandpa played tennis at the University of Missouri. I have an uncle that played golf at the University of Missouri, and my mom and dad met at the University of Missouri, and so, which is in Columbia, about an hour and a half west of on I-70 from the St. Louis area. My mom and dad split up when I was 8 or 9, and I think my mom was just looking to kind of get a change of scenery, met someone. He was on his way for moving from the East Coast, pit stopped in Missouri for some sales training, and then was continuing on to the Seattle area. And so she took that opportunity, moved us, me and my younger sister, when we were 8 or 9 years. I was 8 or 9 years old, and we set up roots in Issaquah. And then, kind of a unique situation though. My dad was very not for us leaving and going 1,800 miles away. And so from the time that I was, I guess I was 8 years old when I moved there. From the time that I was 8 to 18, me and my sister made 40 round trip flights from SeaTac to St. Louis every single Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and like 6 to 8 weeks in the summer. I lived in the Seattle area from the time I was 8 to 18, and until I was 18, I never spent one day of July in the month of Seattle. It was always in St. Louis. So kind of had a little bit of duality of where I lived. And,
I bet that's very different.
Yeah. So that was kind of how I got to Washington, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Born and raised Pacific Northwest. My mom and dad were also from kind of the Seattle area. My mom was raised in Bothell, went to Bothell High School. My dad's always been a bit of a contrarian. I don't know where he went to high school. He's very like the unique dude. So he doesn't talk much about his educational background, which then kind of plays into where I grew up. So my mom and dad moved us out to Sultan, Washington, after my brother.
Small town.
Yeah. Super. But you think it's a small town now. Imagine in 1983. And so moved us out to 15 acres, and we grew up having horses, and we weren't allowed to like watch TV or radio because, whatever, I don't know. But I would sneak away every chance that I could get and like record the Disney Channel and watch it under a blanket. It was, I don't think his plan really played out. But yeah, so I grew up in a really small town, loved it, and didn't even realize I wanted to raise my kids in a very like similar way. Like it never occurred to me. We were never like, let's move out to the country and raise our kids. But when the opportunity came and we bought the property we're at now, I was like, wow, this is so reminiscent of how I grew up. And I loved how I grew up. Quiet, beautiful. It was a great place to 0 to 10. And then we moved a little bit closer to the Maltby area. So.
Did you, growing up in Seattle, did you come to Chelan?
Oh, yeah. So my grandparents, Milton Francis Gilmore, used to take my mom and her brother camping here in Chelan when they were kids. And then they bought a condo in like the 70s right here at Spader Bay when it was like first built. Yeah. And then my mom would come there, and then we would come and travel and visit. My parents bought a condo next door in 1994. And so we started coming every summer as kids. And if I look back on my life, and I know a lot of people who, COVID Chelan moves, grew up coming here. But like when I think back, it was like every chance I got. It was winter, spring, summer. Like when we moved to Nashville, I'm getting ahead of the story, but when we moved there, when we would come back, the only place we wanted to come was here. And so I think it's been home for me in a lot of ways, but I never officially like lived here until about 6 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't get to visit Chelan very often.
You were a little busy.
Well, no, it's funny. I like to joke though. Like we were too poor, and we camped on the Inuit campground. So sometime I was like, Megan was probably driving.
He's like, all the rich kids go to Chelan.
driving
Inuit.
driving past, and we were pitching tents on the side of the river in Inuit. That was as close as I got to Chelan until I was, in college. Yeah.
So, Missouri, it's funny, that's where my family came from too. My grandma was in Missouri when she got on that wagon.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Back in the day.
Oregon Trail side.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. You never spent a July in Seattle. So, was it culturally just a big change every time you're in total different value systems, totally different way of living?
Yeah.
In the Midwest and East Coast, West Coast, they're all different.
Sure. I think part of it helped. Me and my sister, I was like 8 and she was 5. And so that became a norm for us. And we weren't really, had I been 13 or 14 and then all of a sudden this travel and change of scenery happened, it probably would have felt difficult. It kind of became a little bit like, I think it's like a kid identity. Like this is what I do, and I didn't like fight it, as I got older, I didn't like how much time I spent in the summer. There just, I think having kind of 2 different sets of parents is a challenge, especially, we have a 15-year-old son right now, and like, as everyone knows, like they become more of their own person and kind of, buck the system a bit. And, but our 9-year-old is kind of easy and malleable, right? It's so I think it was it's certainly different, you know. But you know,
Yeah.
people are people, and we had friends over there, we had friends here, and
I'm the one who experienced culture shock.
yeah. When
You're
Megan
like-
went there for the first time in her 20s, she was like, "Oh, this isn't."
No, it wasn't that. It's very different.
Yeah.
The value system is very different.
Yeah.
It's like a language.
Yeah, for sure.
So, where did you guys intersect in life?
Yeah. We have a
Yeah, so I mean, I was in the U.S. Army. I spent a year and a half in Baghdad. You know, I was actually originally in the reserves, which so I was going to the University of Washington, doing reserve, kind of that 2 weeks in the summer, 1 weekend a month kind of thing, and then you know, after 2000, you know, after 9/11, you know, a year and a half later, I was called up. We were one of the first waves into Iraq. Spent a year and a half, a couple different places in East Baghdad, and when I moved back to Seattle, I got a job at a restaurant. I was serving tables at a place called Piatti. It's still there in University Village, and Megan she can share, but she had just moved back from Los Angeles, and she needed a job, and so we both worked at the same restaurant, and that's.
I remember that day I went down to U Village, and there was 2 restaurants that I had applied to be like a hostess at, right? And I was like, I just need a summer job. I'm going back to LA. I'm so close. I was really close to what they call pilot season. So the prior pilot season, I was one person away from getting like the lead role. And so I had William Morris was my agent. Like I'd moved to LA when I was 17. So I'd worked all this time to get to the place. And so I'm just going back for the summer, going back to LA, like nobody get any ideas around here. So I just wanted to get like a quick job that was easy to get in and out of. And so I applied to 2 places, and just one of those small things that you're like, had I got hired at this other like brewery or whatever, my life would look so different. But I got hired on the spot at Piatti that day. And
she fell in love with me immediately. I was still kind of figuring things out. I wasn't really sure if you know, I wanted to settle down, but you know, she was persistent.
That happens. I tell my wife that.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't remember it right.
I don't remember it that way. No, but I do remember.
Could have been the inverse. The inverse of the story might be true.
I do remember, like, there was a couple of things I noticed about Stephen, like, really early on. One, a little bit real mushy, but your eyes, of course. The second thing I noticed, though, was the way that he, like, when he would come to his tables and his section, and he's super hardworking, first guy there, last guy to leave. I always noticed that. He always wanted more tables. And I was always trying to, like, don't seat anybody in my section, you know. And he always wanted more work. And then I also just noticed the way that people's faces were. He remembered people's orders, super personable. Like, there was just something, he's like, this is a people guy, you know. And I just noticed that. I just watched him. He was dating someone, I was dating. It wasn't like that. I was just like, man, what a cool dude, you know. I also knew he had just gotten back from Iraq, and that was really intriguing to me. And I just remember, like, I was raised to really appreciate Army and military, and so I remember thanking you, and that just stood out to me. I was like, wow, that's so cool.
That's a wild story. I want to get into both of these. So thank you for the service in the Army.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
That's awesome.
And that was a lot to go through. That was a very wild, scary time for everybody.
Yeah.
And then you went in the Army right out of high school?
Yes.
And then you went to college on the GI, like use the GI Bill?
That was kind of part of the hope.
Yeah.
You know, if you remember, I mentioned kind of everyone in my family went to the University of Missouri, and because I kind of had residency in both states, you know, having parents in both states, I could have gone to either as a you know, in-state tuition, which was a lot more affordable than out of state at the time. You know, long story short, kind of felt like by enlisting in the reserves at that time, that it kind of solidified my place in staying in the Washington State area, which was kind of important to me at the time, and so that's kind of how that, you know, I too had kind of I wouldn't say I had a patriotic upbringing, but just, that just kind of felt.
What was your MOS in the Army?
Yeah, I was a 37 Fox Psychological Operational Specialist. PSYOP is what they call it. I think it now has a new name.
Like intelligence officer for the.
Yeah, it was a soft intelligence. So like when it's a really hard thing to train for when you're domestic. But when we got deployed, the concept is winning the hearts and minds of the local populace. Mm-hmm. So we'd have 3-man teams that would be kind of strategically placed in various cities, and we would be attached. Like we were attached to the 2nd Cavalry out of Fort Polk, Louisiana, where I was, and my 3-man team would go on daily missions just into the local areas. We had a broad, we had a loudspeaker, an interpreter lived with us, so we could, I don't speak Arabic. Learned a little.
Don't?
I don't. Learned a little things over the way. I can still watch movies, and I can, they're saying, go away.
Good job.
Yeah, I know. So that was, it was a unique experience. I say I was fortunate because I was there at the very beginning of the war, conflict, and so when we were first there, the populace was actually kind of for us being there. Mm-hmm. I think that quickly changed. There wasn't much of what, you heard the word like insurgents a lot, in the years to follow. When I was there, I mean, I definitely have, stories and things that were, kind of like tense moments and I like to say that it always felt like kind of 29 days of boring routine and then like one really exciting one. And so, it doesn't, I think there's other people that maybe the opposite was true, right? Like in that kind of 06, 07, 08, kind of where I think like a lot of the movies that kind of stem from were, but I was, I guess, I don't have as many cool stories as some, but I was fortunate that, everyone that we went over there with, we came back with, and
that's cool.
And then by the time I had 6 years of reserve duty, and 3 of those years I spent on active duty. And by the time I got back, I only had like 6 more months. I think I
remember your discharge.
I brought her with me to like turn in my stuff and kind of like, do the kind of the discharge process. And so she got to see it like one time. And, because she didn't know me as somebody in uniform or anything like that. But yeah, that was kind of that phase of life.
I would imagine that shapes your whole outlook, being first of all, being in a different country in general, and then being in a country that's going through so much and getting to know the people in that position. It must have been pretty enlightening coming from.
Yeah, there's, I've had the opportunity to speak at some kind of school Veterans Day stuff, I have a little slideshow presentation and that, shows a lot of pictures from back then. I think, kind of the visuals help so much kind of understand the differences. But like the town that we were stationed in the majority of the time that I was in Iraq, had open sewer systems, right? Like it was just culverts, like running through the town, right? And if it's 110 degrees outside and there's open sewage, and you could imagine like what that smells like.
It's I just think that it's all that, regardless of combat or no combat, it's all important. I tell my son that too. 100%. He went to the Marine Corps for 5 years, and he ended up in the aviation side as a sergeant, ultimately a sergeant, and as a crew member in the V-22 Osprey. So he was deployed, but he was, unlike the other Marines that were on the boat a lot, he was in 2016, after high school. But I told him the same thing. It's like, it's all a unit. You're all together. It's all, you all have a very important role no matter what. Right. And he was fortunate. He didn't get into anything too crazy. But he learned a lot. And, and then because he was on that aviation side, he'd always all of a sudden randomly send me a picture of him in street clothes with a camera on his neck in Jordan, and then Iraq, and like Thailand. I'm like, what? Are you having fun? Like, do you work? Yeah.
Do you work?
And then one time he sent me a video of shooting a 50 cal machine gun out of the back of a V-22 Osprey, and he goes, he texts, I just spent $10,000 of the Marine Corps' money.
That's the number one question that kids ask at these Veterans Day things. Like he's telling this whole thing, and the number one question is like, but did you get to shoot a gun, and what was it? Isn't that their questions usually?
That's one of them for sure. Yeah. Like that was I was a turret gunner of a what's the 249 saw, but the 50 cals are cool. Got to shoot that too.
I've never heard him say 50 cals are cool. You should put that on a shirt or get a tattoo.
I asked him, what were you shooting at? And I go, well, did you hit where you were shooting at? And he goes, yeah. And I go, what were you shooting at? And he goes, the ocean. You're a good shot. You hit it. You're a smart kid.
That's good.
Glad you paid attention. Anyway, so then you just said something I didn't catch earlier, and that at 17, you like flew the coop.
Yep.
You're going south. You're heading to LA, and did you have these visions of, because your story about your acting career and music career, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, I think early on, being raised where I was raised, without a whole lot of entertainment, like creativity was my entertainment.
Oh yeah.
So I would sit in the yard and I would just sing and write songs all day. Like, I mean, I think a lot of kids do. And then I was very shy and introverted, and I got this random VHS tape in the mail one day, and it was like this invitation to some super corny like pageant. I remember watching the video, and I'm like, these girls are, what in the world is this? I'm like, Mom, I want to sign up. And she was like, she was terrified because I was so quiet, and I was so shy. And so she's like, how do you sign your kid up for something they're probably going to fail at? And I was like, but if you really want to do it, I'll let you do it. So that was where it started. And I realized that, like most introverts, that you can step into a side of yourself that you get to pick and choose, right? Yeah. What you show to people. And that felt safe for me. That felt fun for me. I'm like, I get to experiment with this, and I get to, it was creative. And so that's kind of where it started. And then, I went to, I was Miss Washington Teen USA in 2000.
Nice.
And so I went to the national pageant, and my agent at the time was like, hey, you're 17, but if you really want to make a run at this acting thing or music or whatever it is, you should probably move to LA sooner rather than later. And my parents are also these enigmas. They are like, you see the signs on the walls that say like dream big, shoot for the stars, or shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. But my parents like live that. They're like, if you want to go, we'll support you. They went down. My mom lived with me. We lived in an extended stay for a while in Burbank, and then eventually I got roommates, and I finished my high school diploma online before there was such a thing as like online school. I don't know. We found this place that's like, sure, we'll give you one. And so I went and I did that, and at first it was really difficult because it was like, this is my dream. And then I got down there and realized it's terrifying. It's a terrifying place, and the audition process and how ruthless it is. And it's an industry of rejection. And I had only experienced success up to that point. And so you're 17, you're impressionable, you're alone, you're in a big city, and you are surrounded by an industry of rejection and
sharks.
And sharks. Predators.
Yeah, predators. So it was, talk about culture shock. So I quickly was like, is this really what I want? And then that began.
Was the goal to be a singer or to be an actress?
So it started out to be an actress. That's kind of my initial foray into it. But I quickly found out that what I loved about music, and in particular songwriting, is I didn't actually want to play a plethora of roles. I just wanted to find my role. And so songwriting, that kind of came out, a resurgence of songwriting came out of having to be all these different things for all these different people in LA. And I was like, you know what? Actually, no. That was more of just like a way that actually was to pay the bills, I think.
Before you were a songwriter, you were in a girl band.
I was.
Oh, I want pictures.
Oh, there's this weird picture that's printed in our top drawer of our shoe bin. I don't know why it's in there. And I was in a girl band and had to audition for it. And it was like, multi-ethnicity. One's a rapper. And we had our showcase for Interscope Records at a gay bar in West Hollywood. And I'm 17 in a mesh shirt doing this dance. It's like, I look back and I'm like, okay, I get my parents are supportive, but like, what is going on?
So you went from no Disney
Yeah.
Yes.
to let's go.
Let's go.
Or radio.
Yeah,
Like,
no
it's
Disney
nothing.
or radio. Yeah. So it was quite the pendulum swing. But yeah, I wasn't a girl band. And that was actually probably when the music thing, I didn't grow up in a musical family. So for some reason I was like, I probably don't have that in me.
But that was the one. So then you ended up coming back to Washington for a little bit, but your plan was still to go back
Yes.
and to keep
And then
pursuing stuff?
Then I met Steven.
Okay.
And I didn't go back.
Yeah.
And so I think when we first met and were dating, and I got a lot more serious, like he was right about like, I knew pretty early on, like this was the guy. And maybe you did too, but I was like, what are we waiting for? You know, I would just sneakily leave like brides magazines around his apartment with like circles around the ring I wanted. I'm sure that was really subtle, but I just kind of knew early on, like he just, you know, like I explained, like just observing him in the wild or just with people. He sees people, you know, like he creates spaces where people belong. And I was just like, man, he's gonna do that. Like as a dad, he's gonna do that as a husband. Like I just knew right away. He was a great find. So then I was like, LA, whatever. But then I was like, hey, do you want to move to Nashville? And he was like, sure.
Sure.
So then we got to explore a little bit of that together.
And that goal there when you were going to Nashville was to be a singer?
Yeah, singer-songwriter.
And how old were you guys when you moved to Nashville?
We just got married. I was 26, you were 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, that was in 2007 timeframe.
Right.
And, I think for you and, but Nashville's another cutthroat place, right? Like
they call it a 10-year town. And I'm like, I got 3 in me.
Yeah.
So can we speed this up?
It's amazing talent. I just went there for the first time a couple years ago with Audie. And
Did you stay like in the city?
Yeah, it was pretty close. And then just every single place has amazing talent.
Yep, has amazing talent.
Just a wild musical, just anything and everything. But I liked it a lot. You know, I've been to New Orleans a few times, and it was like, this is kind of that party, happy vibe, but it's not as dangerous. It felt cleaner, and it felt like a country. Obviously, it was
great place.
Different than blues, but I thought it was fun. I mean, I don't know about every day, all day, because
we probably would have stayed longer. She got pregnant with our son, and
I got pregnant on my own.
Together.
And
she got
pregnant. I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah, we don't know what happened.
we got pregnant.
And then it was kind of like, is this the place we want to raise a family? You know, we have family, back in the Western Washington side, and so we had the Chelan and to visit, which we were super fortunate to do, and I mean, you liked, but
I think, and I'm reflecting on that too. I must just be someone that like just has to learn things a super hard way. But like even with LA or even with Nashville, and maybe even just for parents whose like kids have dreams or they want to go try something. I'm kind of one of those person, like I have to go to the end of the rainbow. Like I just have to see like what's there. And whether that means I'm moving across the country or I'm doing this, I just have to find out. Like, and most times when I got to like the end of the rainbow, I was like, oh man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And it was the same with Nashville, right? It was like, you have to pay to play there. They don't pay you to play. So you have to pay an entire like studio band to go out and just gig 3 songs in the middle of the day that nobody's even in there. And you got to do that for years. We didn't have the money for that. I didn't have the connections for that. I didn't want to play bars at night. I remember going to an open mic and sitting in the back, and it was midnight and I wasn't going to go on until 1 a.m. And I was like, this ain't for me. Like I'm not a night person, like just practically, this isn't for me. And then when we got pregnant, I was like, this isn't a like my win. If I do this, the goal is that I get to travel, 48 weeks a year all over the place. Like that's like the big, I've made it. I'm like, this isn't gonna work for me.
Yeah. Did you always know you wanted a family?
Yeah. I did.
And so you guys, how many kids do you have?
Three.
Three kids.
Yeah, so 15-year-old boy, 12-year-old girl, and a 9-year-old son.
It must be interesting raising kids right now. You know, I'm 56, so my kids we had them early too. Somehow my kid's mom got pregnant too. I don't know.
I know, it's so weird how that happened.
How do you?
But we were in college, and it was a surprise. It was like, wait, how'd that happen? What's going on here? So we were 20 and 21.
That's
And then 5 years later, had another one, and she's a beautiful person, and so we were married about 10 years. But yeah, they're now 32 and 28. So I've been thinking, you know, friends like you and others that have kids now, with all the differences that, you know, the last 10, 15 years is just kind of like with social media and cyberbullying and all the stuff. I mean,
we were just having a conversation about it this morning, right?
Yeah.
Like she. So I mean, there's certain, you know, things you're fortunate about. I mean, you know, I highly recommend that to our friends, and I'm sure it was recommended to us. You know, there's like monitoring apps and stuff that we get. Our sweet daughter, you know, if she mentions to somebody like so-and-so's sick, we'll get like a
I
medical.
have a stomach ache. She's like, medical emergency. I'm like, maybe we should bring back the alerts on her phone.
So we'll get an
It's
alert
never
about
anything.
something that, you know, and then our 15-year-old son, you know, like all the choice language that him and his friends and strangers. You know, I think it's the weird part. It's just like you know, like on the Snapchat as an example. Like we get all these alerts constantly because, you know, our son's not perfect, but a lot of times it is just random people sending stuff, and then, but we see it, you know, screenshotted onto our phone. I'm always surprised when like kids have iPhones and like parents have like no idea what's on their kid's phone. Like,
yeah, and I bet growing up the way you did, that you have that like, there's pluses and minuses.
Yeah. Well, and I think Chelan, actually, when we moved in 2020, we went up, the origin of that decision, we went up with some friends who were camping up Union Valley. And our kids were like on devices, like it is different West Side versus here as far as like just kind of the normalcy of all that. And we were in the car and we were getting out, and I remember just having this moment and watching my kids like try to peel themselves away from their devices, and it was like they were standing in the sun in the open, and I'm like, it was like this moment where he and I were very aligned as we were leaving, and I'm like, what are we doing? How are we raising these humans? Like, and then it was just a few weeks later that we found the property that we're on now. And so really one of our moves to Chelan was just to create a natural everyday contrast of like, there is birds and there is an outdoor, and we have like a little stream that runs through, and you know, we see wildlife, and we're in a cabin. Like, we're not, well, anyway, it was one of those decisions that was like, this is the only way I know in this day and age to kind of resist the drift of the technology. And it was a huge risk, but I do see how it's positively impacted and like grounded our kids by raising them in a small town where they are actually connected to real people, whether they like it or not.
You know, you have no choice but to know of a lot of people, and do things that are safer. You know, at least apparent. You know, there's still problems, but you know, I would imagine it's a lot safer than living in Seattle. You know, just the anonymity's not there.
So it's cool though. Like, you know, so we live 2 miles up Boyd, kind of just past the last of the subdivision kind of high point area down on 11 acres. But we still have we're still super fortunate to have her parents' condo in Spader Bay.
That's one of the best.
It's
old school one of the best.
It's old school, yeah.
And
it's so fun.
And so, like, you know, in the summertime or whatever weekends, you know, we can be down there if we want to be. But it's great for the kid. Like the amount of like, you know, people that have said, "Oh, I saw Jameson," you know, walking into town. You know, it's like, and we honestly don't worry about that. Like, I mean, I think the ability for kids to be kids here is better than most places. It's not perfect, I'm sure, and there's things that are probably, you know, issues. You know, there's issues like, again, the phone issue is probably the same
everywhere,
here as whether you're in
But it's
New
like,
York
what
City.
are you like? what natural barriers do you have in place just to resist, right? The like constant pull, and we're not doing that perfectly, but I am grateful for this community and what it's created in that tension.
I'm not sure there is a perfect. I know my daughter I have two grandsons. They're 7 and 3, and she's a doctor of audiology, and he's a sheriff. And their schedules, she's got tons of patients. She's very driven. They live over in Port Townsend, Bremerton area, and those, the iPads become easily become your dependent. They're a babysitter, or and they're tired, and And then I talked to her a lot about that, and I'm not her, and she has her aggressive tendencies to be driven, right? And she's a great mom. They're both great people, but I talked to her about, like, you see the people that say no tech until you're 15, and I'm like, to me it was kind of like the guys that said, like, I had a friend that 10 years after high school, and he was in a fraternity for like 8. He was like National Lampoon's. Yeah. But he was like, no caffeine, no this, no that, no that. And he got to college, and it was like, he was on full blown, let's go all in. 100%. So I was like, I don't know. It's just, and now you add the technology to it. I mean, because it was easier when my kids were younger. It was even when I was growing up, we didn't have tech, but I think they used smoke signals or something, because my dad knew everything about everything. I don't know how they could get that with a landline.
I love that.
But, it was bizarre.
I don't think there's a way you can control it, and I think there's, people are their own people, kids are their own kids. Like, some are gravitated more towards it, and others aren't. I wish we had the perfect way of doing it.
Yeah, we don't. I think it's our number one stressor, I would say, but I do think, to your point, my dad is a perfect example of kind of just extremist mentality, like all or nothing, right? And I think with our kids, like, I just think it's a part of parenting and responsibility in this day and age that you just help them develop digital habits, which means they're gonna overuse it. And then there's been times where I've, like, our kids have had to go on forced digital fasts, and then they'll tell me, like, wow, like, I really actually like that, and oh, look at all the things I created, or I cleaned my room, or and you can only develop that, like, reality by their engagement with it. It takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of intuition, and we do not do it correctly. It's actually probably one of the biggest tensions in our marriage, is like, how do we manage this?
It's a whole new world. And then AI with all of the fake everything. Fake videos that look real, fake pictures that look real. It's like, that's a wild time right now. Wild. But you do your best, and you love your kids, and you spend time with them. Some of the basics still apply, I would imagine.
They do.
No matter what.
Natural consequences are great too.
Keep them busy.
Keep them busy.
So Stephen, I want to talk to you about, we had a conversation once when you first came to Chelan. You were in a technology business. Talk to me about how you went from school, and then how that in Nashville, and all of a sudden you started a technology company.
Yeah. It was, I think I'd always just gravitated towards more like sales and business development roles early on. Like, originally I was trying to be in commercial real estate on the west side, and ended up in sales for Verizon, more of the media print side of Verizon, and that just kind of led to different jobs, over a number of years. Which were all great, kind of like, I don't know, opportunities in their own right, but didn't really feel super connected to any, it was more of like I work to make money and provide a lifestyle, and had the opportunity in like 2017 of a company called Verity that had kind of launched as this payment technology for small medical offices that it was really geared towards individuals who would go get a bill at a veterinarian or dentist or whomever, and couldn't pay the $3,000 on the spot. So we gave the dentists or vets the opportunity to, like, creatively break it up over time, and provided some level of insurance back to the client, so that if the person stopped paying, that there was kind of an avenue that they could take, and so it was a great concept. It's still out there, across the country. We had an office in Bothell, where we kind of set up roots, and we came back to the west side, and that's where all 3 of our kids were born, and had an office there, and then COVID happened, right? And as Megan talked about, we had a connection here, and we kind of immediately came to Chelan as the place to be. We were certainly on the front side of that movement, and I was like, oh great, I got this opportunity to lead this company remotely, which we did. People kind of scattered. My team moved to Texas and Oregon and Montana, and so I was like, be in Chelan, that'll be great, but felt super disconnected really quick. Like I was like, we love the people here. We've made a great community of friends, quickly. Sometimes when you're forced to go to a new place, you don't have people, right? So you got to find your people. And so, we were through a couple different avenues, lucky to get connected the way we did early here in Chelan. But that work piece was missing, and really just kind of felt like as somebody who's attracted to people, working remotely, I had one of those offices in the chamber.
That's what I remember
downstairs.
You telling me. You're sitting in a closet.
Yeah.
You can't.
This is fun.
Yeah. You don't know if you don't. It's a great place. The
Some
chamber.
people love it.
The chamber's awesome. Those little offices downstairs are great.
Cute,
If you've ever had a meeting or whatever down there, like a lot of people have.
Yeah.
But you don't know if it's noon on a beautiful Tuesday, or it's you're getting dumped on snow. It's dark outside. It's just it's a true basement. And so I needed more, and that's kind of how I kind of shifted gears and got connected to where I work today.
Yeah, which is Blue Water, and then Evola.
Yeah, so started working just for Blue Water Homes, which is a custom residential builder here in Chelan, and the owner Ben and I knew each other in the Husky college days. Became friends with him and his wife Lauren through our kind of connection to the barn, and a place that I've worked out and coached at since we moved here. And it's honestly been the place where we've met most of our people.
Met a lot of people.
And the barn's a fitness center for people who don't know.
Yeah,
it is.
The 2 people that don't know, because you're all working out.
And so
that's great.
Yeah, but Avara is the parent commercial construction company. So we're sitting here in the hub, the old hospital, and so Avara rebuilt these co-working office spaces. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, based out of Redmond. So I kind of have a hybrid job where I support locally the custom home division, and then travel a little bit back and forth, but mainly here to working, I guess, a little bit remotely on the commercial construction. So
you're mainly doing commercial construction for.
So the parent company does commercial construction. I support those kind of sales and operations efforts, and then the sales and operation efforts for Blue Water Homes, which is smaller.
And the residential.
On the residential side.
So if you need people who are interested in building.
If you own land and you want to understand the building process, we'd be happy to talk to them.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I know a little bit about that whole world.
Yes, you do.
36 years later in the sandbox.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of things, right? And what I love about what you do is, and it's probably what you saw when he was a waiter. You have instant integrity.
Yeah.
There's some people that just have that, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard for people that have never built. And a lot of people have built, or maybe they bought a home, and they move here, and they buy land, and we've sold I do a lot of land deals, and I do them 5, 10, 15 years before they're going to actually build.
Yeah.
So very few people have actually, that build a second home or build their home they're going to move into eventually as a primary, have a lot of experience. And what I've learned even this year, you're learning all the time, and finding the right people you can trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a trust decision.
Oh my God, if you can just trust what they say.
Yeah.
One is a large investment. That's huge, that's a huge hurdle that they have to go through.
Yeah, we deal with it in real estate too, sometimes, in commissions, like, well, what do you charge? Okay, well, that's a good question, but there's about 10 other questions we should probably talk about
before.
About what's that value look like, what's the
Yes.
performance look like, what's the risk, aversion, but in building, my gosh, it's changed so much, so drastically through COVID, and just people like yourself, I respect and I appreciate. And so if you're thinking about building.
Well, Russ, I have to tell, is it okay if I just tell the origin story of how that even happened?
Sure.
Because it's really true to who Stephen is. So Stephen was not looking for a different job. He was not totally happy with what he was doing because it wasn't well matched to who he is. But he was doing it, right? He's that kind of guy. And Ben, the owner, had blown out his calves skiing on the river. And Stephen... One calf.
Yeah.
Did I say calves?
I thought
Okay,
so.
just one.
Yeah.
So he had one
Still
operating.
hard to ski.
Still hard to ski on one. And so Stephen, just who he is, and because he's such like a physical guy, and he knows how much that can affect like mental health for guys specifically that just can't get around and can't do what they're used to doing. He just went, he's like, I'm just gonna go check on Ben. And he didn't really have a relationship with Ben. He's like driving back, I'm gonna stop by and check on him. I just wanna see how he's doing. And I'm like, okay, this is what Stephen does. And so he goes in and he's just checking on Ben and just sitting there and talking and being a friend, to a guy who's not probably feeling that great, right? And he just was talking about like how's work, and he's like, it's not great. And Ben's like, well, what would you like to do? He's like, I just want to be a part of the community. I want to be like, I want to do something. I want to build something here. And so even just the way that he came to work for Blue Water is Stephen being Stephen. Like he just went to go check on a friend, and that's who he is. Like if you know him, if you're friends with him, if you're married to him, if you're parented by him, like that's you. He checks on his.
I like this podcast just for all the
Compliments?
compliments I'm getting in
rewatch
this
it?
direction. I'm thinking to myself like, gosh, like I need to return the favor. I don't know, Russ needs to tee me up in a way that I can kind of shift it back.
We get
And
that a lot, don't we? When people are like, you really feel
Just
that
know
way?"
that like if there's everything that comes up, just be like replay. Do you hear
Yes.
these good things you
Remember
said about
this?
me?
Remember? I mean, we could talk about the things that
I
you
mean,
can work
yeah,
on if you want to.
No, let's keep it positive. Let's keep it positive. Yeah. Even earlier, she was going to make fun of me because, ironically, I work for a builder, and but in no way am I don't have that background. That's not my history. I'm actually incredibly not handy. And so you're going to joke earlier that we live on these 11 acres in a house that we were fortunate to have remodeled. But it wasn't by me, right? And because I don't possess those skills, and
But
so
you do
my role
possess.
is talking to people and getting,
Yeah.
because we do have, to your point, like a great team of
do.
really high integrity people that are really skilled in
that
the construction process. And so I'm like the liaison, like, hey, let's get you in front of my team.
You're like a networker, the connector.
Yes.
And communication. I mean, the lack of communication is the root of a lot of challenge. These negative assumptions surface when, I always tell my agents, unmet expectations are a big problem. And on the inside, they lead to like hurt feelings and disappointment. On the outside, they lead to like these things called litigation and hate and things that are bad.
Yeah.
And usually they're unmet because we never had them. I mean, there was a lot of assumptions being made. We're guilty of it at times. I mean, in real estate, it's not just a builder. You got all the subs and all the regulations and all the inspections. And in our world, it's title companies, attorneys, inspectors, and other agents. And the clients, I tell my agents, we talk about it a lot, where we do this every day. And we've done my entire adult life I've done this. But they haven't. I mean, this is like a big deal, and I am guilty sometimes of like jumping past that. And so I make sure the people around me, they're smarter than me, so I can get out of their way and let them do their thing. But also just keep us all grounded and realize that everything is a big deal, and everything's important. And that lack of communication, I see that so often in so many industries, and the addiction to just texting and the addiction to just emailing. And I sent you an email, like. Well, I got 20,000 of them last month. Is it in that one of those spam that I didn't catch or that my system caught? So I love that. What it reminds me of is Mike Leeds. And you should meet Mike Leeds if you haven't.
Leeds?
Mike Leeds. Okay. He is the kind of the liaison face of Fig Title. And he actually works from Utah.
Okay.
But I've known him since I was sponsoring my first real estate, right away. We bought some hats from when he was in embroidery hats or something for a softball team. But we've been friends, and the reason I love to work with him so much is I always know I can call him. And I always know that he's going to listen, and then he's going to try to, bridge whatever the challenges of the day. And I know that if it can be done, we'll do it. And as long as everybody knows there's effort, everything I want from a title company, sometimes I don't get, like all of us in business. So I think you guys would have a great conversation. I'd love to introduce you.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, and he knows, he's been doing it for 20 some years with title, and he's a great guy. So also we got kind of a 10 o'clock hard stop, but I want to get into your faith. I read your bio, and you went to college and ended up with a master's degree.
Yeah, I have a master's from Western Seminary. So that was a surprise. I think so my parents came to faith, they're first generation Christians. My mom and dad come from really, really broken homes, a lot of abuse and a lot of addiction. And my dad is, like I said, all or nothing guy. So he's all in, right? And so we're raised as a Christian family, but they have no idea what they're doing. And so we're going to this little church, which
the Glory Barn.
Called the Glory Barn.
Sounds dangerous.
Cute name, actually.
It's like actually in a barn. But anyway, and I remember from a young age, like I said, I would go out and I was singing and dancing and riding my horse and stuff, but it was me and God having conversations. That's what he was my best playmate, right? And so I don't have memories without him, but it wasn't like I was introduced to a faith through some kind of institution. It was just like relational for me from a very young age. And I know that not everybody has that, but I know I did. And so my faith was always kind of an undercurrent in all the things that I was doing. But it wasn't, I never ever was like, I want to be in ministry, or I want to be a Bible student. It was an interest, but not in a vocational sense. And then just kind of watching my creative endeavors fail over and over, and like getting really close and just kind of missing the mark, and just kind of the wear and tear on me. And I kind of got to a place where, like, I remember there was a Zip Fizz commercial that was local that I was trying to get, and
you did get.
But I was a second choice. They had went with somebody else first, and it was like the lowest paying thing. It was a local. It was just like, I just remember sitting. I actually remember being in like the bathtub later, and I was just like, this is what all this has led to. Like me, like scrambling and scratching to try to get a Zip Fizz commercial, and then they called me like, oh, they couldn't do it. Can you do it? And it was like this turning point for me. I'm like, I can't spend the rest of my life kind of like just scratching my way to these things. So a friend of ours, we decided to plant a church. Again, we decided to move to 11 acres in a cabin. We don't know what the heck we're doing. We had friends who decided to plant a church, and we're like, hey, you guys came to mind. Would you like to be a part of it? And I'm like, okay. So we started this with like 30 other, or it was like 15 other families. And we helped kind of plant a church that took off in the Kirkland area called Reach Church, and we were there for a long time. And they kind of asked me to come in and do some stuff. And then eventually I found myself in women's ministry. And I'm like, well, I'm a creative. I'm not like some kind of church person. So I'm going to write my own Bible studies without a degree, without knowing anything. And the lead pastor's like, okay. And he gave me permission. And I've thanked him recently for that. And then I started realizing that there was like this blend. Like all of that creative stuff that I wanted to do, like I found a lane. And it was very invigorating, and I kind of felt like I'd settled into my own skin a bit. I didn't have to be something else, but I did it in a unique way. I'm like, we're not going to be sitting around doing tea time and making kerchiefs and talking about how like the Holy Lord is, what I want it to be real. Like I want it to actually be real. And so it was a little bit of a rebel in my own right, like Kyle likes to say, of how I went about doing ministry. And then just by a really cool turn of events, Gary Brashears, he's a professor at Western Seminary, very well known in like celebrity Christian circles, if you want to call it that. Very well known. He's awesome. And he invited me, he has a heart for women to get into ministry, because obviously it's pretty predominantly male. So he invited me into this master's cohort program, and best time of my life.
Oh, cool.
Loved it. Yeah.
Graduated last year.
Graduated last year.
So you went back to
congrats.
school, yeah. And now you're both with Real
Life.
And you're both kind of teaching inside of Real Life in different ways.
I'm on the setup committee,
He's a setup tear down guy.
Once a month, we get in there early, But
You do it.
Megan's role is really
Yeah.
cool. I mean, she's on the teaching team, and Josh now preaches there once a month on average or so, and so which it's been cool to see her evolve into that role. I think to your point, like you've always had she's always wanted a creative outlet, and you know, she's involved now through on the professional side through the Providence Heights Illuminate cohorts.
Yeah.
Where
I do like online teaching virtually for women.
Okay.
So I train and teach biblical literacy and spiritual formation for women online. But then I also am involved in the local ministry. I feel like, kind of to our point earlier with digital connection, right? It's like, I love that. It's a sacred space, like amazing. It's probably 80% of my job. But then here in real life, the relationships and actually getting to invest in people, it's a really beautiful blend of how I get to integrate my faith.
Yeah, it's funny. Kyle Plew was a great guy that I knew of a long time, and then getting to sit down with him in this podcast.
Oh, he was fascinating.
I love that he said, "I just want to open a church for people who don't want to go to church," you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And then we know we got the people that like the food. We know we got the people that come for this. Go for that. Hey, it's all good. And I always felt, you know, growing up, I was pushed into. I was not pushed, but I was in Methodist church in Manson, which is that white one.
Yeah.
Up on the hill,
it's on Botsky.
Okay,
It's right 1 block from downtown. So that's where all my dad's and mom's friends, you know, it was all of that, and it was kind of, you know, monotonous, and I was, you know, at some point found that it was not the whole. I went to the church of the NFL, you know, on Sundays, and I was I got distracted.
Yes,
right?
I know those.
Yeah. So anyway, it was funny. So it was fun to reconnect, and it's funny how this podcast has done that for us. I know we get way more out of it than the people that we interview, because it's been a huge blessing for me to be able to really learn from so many different people, and we're just kind of, you know, we've done like 60 in 60 weeks or something.
It's pretty impressive.
It's really, really cool what you're doing.
But to hear all the stories, and then to get people like yourself and Kyle and Brett Lamar. I went to high school with Brett.
Oh, Brett Lamar.
Yeah.
I love
so
that.
Brett was a year ahead of me, I think. And, you know, Brooke, Isaac, and I were in the same grade, K through 12. There was
we got to baptize her at Real Life recently.
Yeah, and Scott was my arch rival in high school in football.
Well, I mean, naturally. Naturally.
Yeah, so it was fun, you know, that. But she was like a sister, you know. 16 of us were K through 12 out of 22. So it's like literally from, you know. Just super good friends, and always will be.
I mean, Kyle's created something really, really special and unique. I've been in, you know, church ministry now, I guess, for a while. And I will say, like, this is the first church where people I know personally, never gone to church before, would never go to church. It's now a part of their community. It's now a part of their actual real life, which, you know, makes sense. And just to Kyle's credit, too, like, you know, even with the education that I have, even with the desire that I have or the skills that I have, there is a very, very small percentage of churches that would let a woman teach on a Sunday. And
really?
Kyle,
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the evangelical tradition, I mean, if you're looking at other, like, you know, different kinds of traditions, possibly that number would be lower. Right. But he takes a risk on me, you know, in that way. And even in our community, there'll be times like, you know, is she allowed to do that? And it's like, well, we're a church for people who don't like, if you want to go to a real church, you can go to any other church you want, you know, and we make light of it, but really what he has done is like, for me, I wouldn't get this opportunity. Like, our last church, I preached one time on a Sunday, and that was like, it was a whole thing. And I was there for 7 years.
Wow.
And so, you know, it's something that people don't really think about if you don't know church culture very well. But it is such a gift, and I know it's a risk for him.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say, like, what, 60% of stats are made up on the spot. So, like, I would say that 80-ish% of churches wouldn't let a woman preach from on stage.
Yeah.
Well, we're breaking that mold.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Do you ever sing there?
I do.
Of course you do.
I do there. I sing.
glad.
I lead worship sometimes. I also play at wineries in the summer, so I'll go out and I'll do 3-hour sets, sometimes 2-hour sets, and do all the covers of, you know, Bonnie Raitt and you know, the people that I just grew up loving, and Alison Krauss.
I listened to you at the Vibe once.
Yeah.
You're very
Yeah,
very
sure.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a fun, like, like comes back around kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you get older and you're like, oh, all those things. But here it's like, man, I pay for 2 to 5 in the afternoon. Like I can do that, and my kids can come, and I can drink wine. Like, wow. So it's been really cool to have that reintroduced into my life too, just as a creative outlet as well.
Yeah. And connection to the community. So that's cool.
So sometimes I ask this question, like, 20 years from now, where do you want to be?
Me?
Yeah, both of you.
Wow.
What do you want to do? What maybe a better way to put it is, what would you like to have impacted in this community when you can reflect 20 years from now, when you look back at your time here, however long it lasts?
I mean, I could have an answer, but she's somebody who genuinely lives.
No, I want to hear your
But
answer.
you live in that. No. What I'm saying, but you live in that headspace on a daily basis. Like that is like how you're wired, and so. That's I'm gonna say I haven't really thought of that actually, but in my my youngest son, I feel like we talk about our sons and not our daughter. Our Reese is beautiful and wonderful, and she's just so like I want to make sure I mention her because she's always like, you always forget about me. So she's there. But my youngest son Max, I'm gonna use what he prays every single morning when we go to church or just to school, because we always do gratitude prayers on the way to school, and my kids are like, thank you for mailboxes, thank you for the mountains, thank you for the grass. Those are my 2 older, which I love. We're grateful for those things. But then my youngest, I don't know what his deal is, but he's in the back seat, and he always I don't think he's read this anywhere. He's like, God, people who are blind, make them see. People who are poor, make them unpoor. People who are lonely today, make them less lonely. People who are sad, make them happy. And I think he just goes through this whole list of things. And I think 20 years from now, I would like to look back for us and be like, there were people who didn't see themselves clearly. You know, there were people who felt like they were living outside of something. There were people who didn't know what love was. There's people who thought the church was a place that wanted to punish them and tell them what to do. And even in and outside of real life, but just in our relationships, we had people come to know that they're loved, they are seen, they belong, that they matter. You know, I really do think for us, like everything is driven relationally. And every year we just a couple more people come into our life and into our world, and we start to see them heal from things and belong to things and show up for things.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really beautiful. I mean, it's so full of integrity and honesty. Thank you.
Yeah, that's who Megan is.
Yeah. You must be a good salesman.
Yeah.
I knew I had that.
Well, that's right. He did ask me out how many times before I said yes.
Like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until I said, "Fine, I'll see you when I see you."
It's a good thing
like, maybe we should go out.
Yeah, it wasn't until he said, "Never mind," and I was like, "Whoa."
It's a good thing she definitely fell in love with you first.
yeah. That was
Might have been 60 times.
Yeah.
That's how it went down.
Well, and I also want to mention, you're an instructor at CrossFit.
Yeah.
And that's, you're always so pleasant. And I think the little things, what I noticed about you, I don't know you that well, but just in the time we spent together, it doesn't take much to say hi and smile to someone, even at 5:30 in the morning. And, my wife's an instructor there in yoga, so she's, I go with her sometimes, and it's a great way to start a day when there's this consistency of a person that's friendly.
Yep.
And I think that's true in every aspect or in every place, business, church, workout, wherever, to meet friendly people that aren't like, get a lot of that too. But I appreciate it about you and how much you care. I mean, of course, I haven't taken a CrossFit class, but I've heard.
Audie and I work out at the 7 a.m.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She gave me some advice the other day. She's like, Megan, just don't stop working out. That's all I'm going to tell you. Just don't stop. It's really hard to get back. I was like,
and she's been battling headaches for 5 weeks straight. We were in Seattle yesterday.
Oh,
We kind of
man.
emergency ran over there and got a bunch of stuff done. Yeah, she's battling through it, but she's still a trooper. She got up at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah, she shows up, man.
Good for her.
Did her thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think it's been a lot of fun, and I know
Yeah,
we've got
thank
a
you,
busy
guys.
day.
Thank you
for coming
guys.
and
It's really
sharing.
fun.
It's fun to get to know people a little more instead of them.
Yeah, no, we're in a small town, and there's a lot of great people, and we're just a couple, with a family that's trying to, get to know people, share life experiences, and I don't think we could be more fortunate to land
Yeah.
here in
We're very
the
grateful
Chelan
to
Manson
be
area.
here.
So,
Well,
yeah.
and one of the things I often tell people that, especially the people like myself that are generationally here, is that we're a much, much better place because of the people that move here than we would be if we were just on an island. Yeah, there's so much more diversity and so much more generosity and so much more culture, and we all get to learn from each other. And to me, that's what makes the size of this town so beautiful. And although things change, they don't always have to change for the worse. They can actually continue to change for the better, thanks to people like you.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you guys for
Well,
having
I guess
us.
we're signing off.
Yeah.
Signing off. One more time.
Bye.